Bonjour, je m'appelle Kiki, and before you get scared that I go blabbing off in French, je voudrais juste m'excuser pour la grande silence, pour la manque d'activité sur mon compte YouTube. I am just saying that I'm really sorry for the long silence. What can I say? What can I say? Even though the first video went up 7 months ago, this is January 2021. So I just wanted to apologize to all the people that really wanted to get more information. COVID-19 is really out there, and so many of us have been dealing with a whole lot of things, but we remain positive. So thank you so much for coming back. And I know that if you're watching this, you probably like something about French or France, or you have plans to come to France. And thank you for all your responses on the first video and the only video I've done so far. I feel very encouraged, and I hope I'm adding value, whatever the case. So first of all, I would like to apologize. I am guilty of what they call, in the quest for perfection, what happens? Nothing gets done. That's what happened. I am guilty 100% of that. So while trying to find the perfect moment, the perfect situation, time just passed. So I want to apologize first of all for that. Thank you for all of you that left comments, asked questions, and even made contact with me. It really warms my heart. Of course, with the confinement, in France and in other parts of the world, it's not only France, that it's been really a very strange moment for everyone. And I know traveling to France maybe right now is not feasible, but of course it's still possible. It's something that can be planned, because COVID won't be here forever, or even if it is, we have to find a way to live with it. Alors, la France, je suis toujours là. Vous pouvez m'envoyer des questions. And today's video is just going to be about what you need to prepare for. What are the first things you would do if you are planning for a trip from Nigeria to France? So I kind of tried to put together the ideas I had, and I can speak to that because I've had the experience. So I'm only sharing what I do know. I'm not a professional in any way. I have work experience as a French teacher. I could tell you about that, but generally I am not a travel expert. I'm not a visa expert. I'm only sharing my own experience. So that's just out there, so what's exactly to take or to leave. So the first off thing is, like I said in the first video, you start with the mind. You first of all make up your mind that this thing about French has never left me all these years. What can I do about it? How can I pursue it? So I try to categorize the kind of people that would like to come to France, the kind of people that have plans for that. And I'm not saying those are the only categories. I'm just giving broad categories of the profiles I've been that actually do that. And I can speak to that because I've been in those 3 different categories at one time or the other. So first off, of course, coming to France from Nigeria, students, we talk about students coming to France, and it's not necessarily students that have a French background, perhaps who speak French or who have studied French before. No, it's no longer the case now, because what we see now is that a lot of French universities are canvassing for students from Anglophone countries to come and study in France. And how they made that possible and comfortable is by offering English taught courses in France. The only difference now is that you pay a whole lot more for a course that is taught in English as opposed to a course that is taught in French. For example, if you're doing an undergraduate program in France, it will cost you less than 200 euros for a year, a session. Less than 200 euros. That is about, in Naira, roughly, we could be looking at 100,000 Naira. Yes. And if you're doing a master degree, you pay about 243 euros for a whole session of that master degree. So if your master is 2 years, you pay 243 twice, which is roughly 150 for each year, 150,000 Naira for each year. Yes. But if you are doing a course that is taught in English in France, you pay anything from 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 euros upwards. So even though they are encouraging a lot of students to come in to study in France, courses taught in English, the things that you pay a whole lot more. That's the difference. But it is possible for you to come to France to study, to study a course in French language. But probably you have to go through a language center, spend maybe 1 or 2 semesters before proceeding to your main course. So that's the first category of people, students. Then the second category I wanted to talk about is teachers. We have French teachers in Nigeria, and most of the time they are probably graduates from university in Nigeria. They studied French for 4 years and probably went ahead to have a master's degree in French from Nigeria. But some people would like to actually have the experience of going to France. As a French teacher, it's a lovely thing for you to actually get to the place where they speak the language. And I believe when things were a whole lot better economically for Nigeria, I believe teachers were sent to France at some point in time. But right now it's not really possible, except you are willing to do that course by yourself. That's another category of people that come to France, to brush up their language skills, to experience the French culture. We already know that studying French is as good as studying the culture, so for you to really be immersed in the language, you have to spend time in the culture. And that's why a lot of French teachers, I believe, would love to have the experience of coming to France. That's another category of people. Then the third category of people I would like to highlight are those busy professionals. Busy professionals working in Nigeria, they have nothing to do with France. They've never studied French, they're working in Nigeria, they have good jobs, but they just have that desire that, how I would love to experience perhaps living in France for a couple of weeks, or going, undergoing some kind of cultural program where I can just spend time, do sightseeing, and also practice a little bit of the language. It's just a passion that has nothing to do with their career. There are people like that as well. And for all three categories, of course, I would say it's possible. It's possible. I'll still say that again. It's very possible. And like I said in the first video, planning is key. There's no super planner that has all the cards in the hand. Of course, you start from wherever you are. First thing, research. By research, I mean Google is your friend. You don't have to pay an agent to do anything for you, unless you want to bypass the stress and trust the agent's instincts for whatever you might need, depending on your purpose for wanting to come to France. So you get started by going on Google. What are the things that you would have to start researching on? First of all, where do you want to come to in France? France is a big country. Like, for instance, when you say, I'm coming to Nigeria, of course, they'll ask you where exactly in Nigeria. And if you want to learn Yoruba, or you want to learn Igbo in the best possible way, you probably not go to Lagos if you really are there for the language and the really deep culture. You probably go, if you want to learn Igbo, maybe you go to Anambra, maybe you go to Imo State, maybe you go to Onisha, where you meet the locals, you get to speak to them, get to live the life, and through the culture, you learn the language, you understand more. So it's the same way in France. When you say you're coming to France, I know a lot of people head to Paris because, or Lyon, or other big towns, which is not bad, but Paris is, for me, I would advise, to accept, Paris is nice, I know, but I feel if you want to come to France, try as much to go to other parts of France instead of Paris, and then that's where Google comes in. You check, if you want to really be cash wise, you want to really save as much as possible, you Google and check where you can get the lowest cost of living in France. Google it, check which town it is, and then when you kind of find an area that suits that purpose, now you Google universities in that area to check what kind of schools they have, or language centers, and then that is what will now inform, like if you're looking for a hotel, the area. That's how you kind of find your area if you're trying to cut as much cost as possible. Google is your friend. You research the location, you research the university you might want to spend time in, if it's a university. If it's not, if you choose an area, what are the sites in that area? Google is also your friend. Another thing you have to check is, even though it's really early, you check the flights that take you to the location. Sometimes maybe the plane from Lagos, the plane lands in Paris. So from Paris, how long will it take you to get to where you're going? That's another thing to consider. So it's always good to kind of simulate the flight, like you're really going, put in the details of where you're going to land, how long it will take you to get from the airport to your accommodation. And the main airports in France are Lyon and Paris. So if you're flying anywhere, it's advisable you book your flights through those locations so that the ticket will be less expensive. Because like if you're traveling to, for instance, you're going from Lagos to you're going to maybe like from Onitsha to Maiduguri, you cannot really get a direct flight from Onitsha to Maiduguri. And if you do get, it's going to be a chartered flight and it's going to be quite expensive. But if you actually fly to Lagos, which is the hub in Nigeria, and you can easily book a flight to Maiduguri at a more affordable rate. I hope you understand what I mean. It's the same thing if you book a flight from Paris or to Lyon. It's easier for you to cut costs than for you booking a flight directly to the local airport there, which is probably small, but they'll still fly. Actually, the flight you might take will actually take you through either Paris or Lyon, but it's just like you're going to pay a whole lot more. So it's better for you to cut your trip by yourself, and that way you save money. Aside from checking for your flight, another thing you need to think about is accommodation. Accommodation is really key. What are the kinds of, if you're a student, of course the accommodation you're going to look for has to be really the cost. You want to really get good value for your money. For students, there are options depending on the course you're doing. If you're doing like a short course that will take you maybe a week or two, if you're a teacher or something like that, there are arrangements where you can stay with a French family. It's there most of the time. It's often cheaper because they'll give you a room in their house. It's probably retirees, old people, or couples that don't have children in the house. They'll leave you out one of their rooms. You probably have a bedroom attached. They also offer if you want to have breakfast with them or dinner or both. So they'll cost everything into the accommodation, but it's usually cheaper. It's usually cheaper. So that's really great option for students that are doing short courses or teachers that are also doing and also want to be immersed in the culture. That's another good point. Then for another form of accommodation could be a hotel if you feel like that's what you want to do. Airbnb, it's also a nice way because you get to cook, you get to be comfortable in the house, respectfully use their things, and most areas you can stay in Airbnb if it's a short stay. But if it's a longer stay, you would actually need to rent an apartment. And I'm talking about a student or a working class that feels though they want to come for more than 6 months. You rent an apartment. The student apartment, generally, if you get in a student lodge, in the government student lodge, it will cost anything between 250 to 350 euros. And out of that 250 to 3, that's monthly. Out of that 250 to 350 euros, the government pays about 150 to every student that is registered as a student. Your visa is a student visa, you are entitled to 150 euros or more to supplement your rent. So you're not paying the full rent. That's for every student, whether you're African, whether you're carrying any passport, wherever, you get that. But if you're here on a holiday, of course that doesn't apply. Or if you're on a long stay and you're not with a student visa, the visa you have maybe is tourist, you're not entitled to that. So as a tourist, you know, or a working class someone that wants to come and spend time, there are programs where they call them civilization programs. You're not really here to learn the language per se. You're here to learn the language by interacting with people. They'll teach you the basics in class, but then part of the course is that you will also go sightseeing. They'll take you places. They'll take you for wine tasting. You get to interact with the French locals. So they call those courses civilization. It's not for students. It's not particularly for, so anybody can register for that. You can be a working class person on holiday, you can be a teacher who wants to brush up, and you can also be a student. So those kind of courses are available, you know, so that's an option if you're coming to France. Another thing that you should research when you're coming is the embassy requirements before you leave Nigeria. You know, we have a consulate in Lagos, and then we have another one in Abuja. So I think they divide it into regions. So if you're in the north, most likely they accept applications from northern states, and if you're in the west, east, Lagos is most likely where you're supposed to direct your application to. Of course, if you're going to start working on that, please go to the website. You know, go to the website and get as much, read up as much as possible what the requirements are, and where you're not sure, check multiple websites, diplomatic websites. Just check what the requirements are for a French visa, which is generally like Schengen. They'll give you a Schengen visa if you are going to be a tourist, but if you're coming on a student course, they'll give you, if it's a short course, they'll give you still a tourist visa. But if it's a long course, it's another visa for that. So they take longer time to study it. But if it's like in between you know, a week to 8 weeks, I believe that they give you a regular tourist visa, you know. So try to find out what are all their requirements. Unfortunately, I can say for myself that when I was planning to come to France, it's quite hard to get emails answered. You probably won't get any response if you send an email. Phone calls, no. The only way you might be reached by the French embassy is if they have a question in your application and they'll call you with a hidden number, so you won't be able to reach them. And you make sure that you don't miss that call, and you never know when they might call. So that's just the thing about it. But the French visa centers, now we use visa centers where we drop our applications. They will be your interface with the embassy. And even then, they are limited. They cannot guarantee anything. So make sure you do your own research. Find out all your information and stuff. For instance, if you're a student, whether long courses or short courses, you plan to come to France, Campus France is your friend. I am not saying, like, I had to do a lot of research before I came myself. So when I did approach Campus France, I already knew what questions to ask specific to my own situation, because, you know, it's different for everybody. Campus France is mainly for students. Yes, you're going for a course, you are going for student, whatever. Campus France is really good. But when I was coming, there were not as many opportunities as they are now, because I still follow their page. Now they will show you scholarships. They'll give you information about scholarships. They'll give you information about universities, links to universities that teach in English. Campus France will help you do that. You can find them on Instagram. This is not a paid advert. I'm just telling you what works now, and from my research and from my own experience. But when I was coming in, there was not really much coordination between the visa center and Campus France, because, you know, I went to Campus France because I had already read up information to get the necessary document you need from them for you to be able to apply to the France embassy. The France embassy wants to see that you actually have a purpose for study, that Campus France is satisfied that this is a student, and they will now give you a letter to the embassy that you used to apply, that you submit with your application. Getting to the application center, they were telling you something else, like, you need to have come to us first, and then we send you there, and then you now come back with the letter. So I had preempted all of that because I had gone ahead. And I didn't even live in Abuja, so I had to actually travel down there, be ready, have photocopies. Of course, you know how the visas, if you've ever traveled out of Nigeria, make sure you are ready with all documents, every single requirement on the list, have it. You don't want to be making photocopies in Abuja, in those visa embassy area. In fact, there are cutthroat people out there, and they won't let you bring in your bag. So there are people outside waiting to collect your bag for you, and you pay reservation fee maybe of 500 per hour. So, you know, because the security guy at the gate will not let you bring your bag in. So you now be left like, okay, where do I drop my bag? People are there with that service. So, you know, so be prepared when you are going to the embassy. Carry a brown envelope, maybe your wallet or money, cash. You know, don't carry anything that they'll just hold you back with. Or if you drive there, fine, drop your things in the car. So that's that for that. You also have to other areas of research that you need to check on is the cost of living. The cost of living, how much will it cost you? And the best way to do that is just to check on Google, just to start. You know, it's not cast in stone. It's just to give you a global idea of how much to prepare for, you know, for feeding, clothing. No, clothing isn't out of it. Feeding, your rent major, electricity, except you're in a general student's lodge, you'll be paying your electric bill yourself. And, you know, it's not very high, but you really have to juggle your finances. Electricity you have to pay, if not you'll be cut off. Nobody wants to be in the cold or without electricity. Then your heat, it comes together with the lights most of the time, your rent, and then feeding. Food is compared to Nigeria, it's kind of high, but right now in this COVID season, I think it's just about the same price. So feeding is, you know, quite expensive compared to where we're coming from, but you get a hang of it. You know how to juggle yourself when you come in. And then what do you spend money on? Transport. You need to have a bus pass, or you buy a ticket every time you want to go on the bus. And if they say a ticket is €1 something, that €1, you know, in Nigeria is 500 and something, and that ticket will expire in 1 hour. So you can go to as many places as you can within an hour without one ticket, but once it's expired, you can not use it again. If you try to use it, and the controllers, that's the police for a tram, if they accost you, you end up paying a fine of more than that. And don't think you give them your details around the way, they will find you. They know how to trace you because you came into their country, you know. So those are the things you're going to pay for. Transport, you're going to pay for transport, accommodation, electricity, feeding is you know, something. And then entertainment, if you come to France, of course you'd like to try a glass of wine. These things cost money. A glass of wine could be as much as 2,000 naira, like €4 thereabouts. You go out with friends, you end up spending close to, for each outing, you spend up to like €10 if you're being prudent. That's if you're being extra stingy, you know. So the cost of living is high, but there's so many things you can do without paying. Parks are free and open. You can check Google for what are the sites in your area, you know, and try to use Google to find where they are, look around, take pictures. But they do have they do offer, you know, guide services, but it's going to cost you. That's the thing. But it's to make your trip interesting. Then they have shopping centers as well. Then I also know that on Airbnb there's a service where you can offer to take someone around, a new person, you know. So probably you can try that. I will research more into that, and I'll let you know if, you know, how it really works. But if you really want someone to take you around to see, there's a service for that as well. But the thing is, everything's paid. Nobody does anything free, you know, like the way, you know, back home in our African culture. I know. So what else? I just want to try to remember everything. And when you're coming to France, of course, travel insurance is compulsory. You have to do travel insurance for the period in which you be here. But if it's a long term, like students are staying for up to a year, you need to do your travel insurance that will last you for probably like 3 months, and then when you get here you do another insurance which is French, and it's less expensive than the one you do in Nigeria. Students, most of the time the requirements for students most of the time is that they have an admission. If you're coming into France and you want to come in on a student visa, you just know you have to have proof of your admission letter, the school that invited you, you've gotten admission. Then you have to show evidence of a regular income that will be coming every month. That will be up to 600 to 700 euros per month. You show evidence of such monies that will be coming in, some kind of attestation, maybe a parent, maybe a sponsor, fine. Or you have the bulk money of a whole year, which is 700 times 12, and you have it in your bank account. You apply for it, they will accept that. So your admission letter, proof of funds, and then the cost of study, all those kind of things. They'll ask you to write a letter of motivation, but you don't have to write in French or anything. It's not compulsory, but of course, if you're going to France, it shows that you have a basic knowledge of French. It's not compulsory to have been to Alliance Française or anywhere else to come to France, even as a student or even on holiday. It's not compulsory. And it just helps you to navigate a bit, because one of the things I noticed that when I got to France, even though I'd been teaching French for years, the French you speak in school is not what you speak on the streets. It's not really, so you definitely have to learn more. And also having a base really, really helps. I'll admit that having that base helped me a whole lot. And I just wanted to drop it here that don't feel intimidated by other people who can speak French, that have had the experience before coming here. I've met students here that did not speak a word of French, and they came here to do an English speaking course, and they're doing fine now. Some of them are working, even though it's just student jobs, it's not anything, like what they want, but it's just a start. So don't let it intimidate you that you don't speak at all, but just take your own little efforts, whether it's going on online courses and things like that, Duolingo, blah. I think there's one other one, Babel as well, just to brush up and have some kind of idea. And if you can actually go to Alliance Française and register, or Institut de Français in Institut de Français at Abuja, if you can do that, please go ahead for classes to really help. But if you want to come in to do a language course in France, so that you can do a master degree or undergraduate degree, they have semesters of language also offer available, but it's paid. You have to pay for it, and that it even costs more than an undergraduate program. That's the thing. So I kind of gave a glossary, an overview of the things you need to think about and start researching on before leaving Nigeria, and even your planning and everything. So I hope this video has been useful, and I'll be reading the comments. If there's anything in particular you want me to elaborate on, or more information on a certain point, please let me know. I will try to bring out a video, let me say, every 2 weeks from now, so I will really try my best. It gives me so much pleasure to help as many people navigate this kind of travel situation, because I did not have anyone I could really ask questions or look to. And yes, Campus France was helpful, but I still did not have all the information I needed, until I got here and discovered some things raw. So if I can help someone else to avoid certain things, because knowledge, they say, is power, it is true. It is true. Alors, je suis vraiment content d'avoir fait cette vidéo, et j'espère que dans 2 semaines, je vais déposer une autre vidéo. Et si vous voulez me poser des questions, s'il vous plaît, laissez les commentaires sous cet enregistrement, et après je vais vous répondre. And if you have any questions or comments, please drop them below. I hope this video has been useful, and I hope to do a whole lot more. And from Kiki, it is à bientôt. À bientôt. Thank you so much.